What's going on, guys? It's Kevin here with ModMyMods and another tech review for you. Today we are going to talk about lighting. Everybody wants lighting inside of their computer, and a lot of people just throw it in there and think that it's gonna work. Well, guess what? It doesn't. And it's taking me a couple years to figure it out. It's taken a lot of people a couple years to figure it out. And some of the companies that are actually giving us parts also have figured it out, which is kind of cool. AlphaCool has come out with a couple new products. DarkSide has their lighting kits. Also, Phobia has their flexible LED things that are going on. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at that, see how they might apply, and see how we can put them in your computer. Everybody wants to talk about lighting, right? Well, AlphaCool has come up with a couple different products to try and suit your needs. First of all, they came out with these new LED bars. These LED bars are actually pretty robust. They're fairly sturdy. They're made out of aluminum. They're not gonna break or anything like that. And they also come with a soft filter. So if you don't like the little LED little dots in there, the little filter that's got on there, it also comes with like a soft gel for that. The other things that they've come up with are these LED rings that go around the reservoir. They have ones in blue and in red, and then obviously we have this RGB crazy one over here, which it has this 3-button little RGB controller, I guess, that's already pre-built into the Molex cable, which is cool if you don't have the 4-pin connector on your motherboard. But if you do have the 4-pin connector, that's all that it is. This will just pop right out, and you can plug that right in, and then your motherboard will control everything. We do have the extension cables for these as well, because the initial cable is a bit short, but it doesn't come with anything. All it does is it comes with this 4-pin with the 3-button little adapter thing. The other thing that they came up with are these LED light rings, I guess you would say. They're kind of like fittings. Now, obviously, this is the bigger one. This is for the 16 mil, this size tubing over here. But I wanted to show you the different colors and how they can be used. Now, this is a UV one, which is a little bit difficult to see because obviously it's UV. But I've also noticed that it doesn't necessarily do very much. Now I'm gonna try it here with a UV fluid and see if it actually does anything inside of the fluid. But to be honest with you, I can't imagine that that would actually do a whole heck of a lot. These different LED rings though, they actually do illuminate some of the tube, and they actually do glow up and down, and they look pretty decent. You know, the white and the red, they look pretty nice, especially if you're trying to color just the tubes, maybe not the fluid, and run clear fluid through it. That works pretty well. This is a 13 mil, the blue one over here, and again, it does work fairly well, and it matches, you know, the other blue LED rings that they have as well. So all in all, it's a pretty decent little setup that they've come up with. A few products here that do work. Now, the pros and cons of everything, they're not terribly expensive, but they're not terribly cheap either. These LED rings are kind of funky to put on. You have to like pull the LED taut and make sure that it's nice and flush on the inside of the ring to put it inside of the tube. Otherwise, it doesn't actually really go in. And on top of that, you know, you are running your LEDs, pretty much the actual light along the side of your tubing. So if it does snag up a little bit there, like on the inside here, you can actually see where there's a little bit of dirt that's already snagged up there. But I can imagine that there's probably gonna be some groove lines or anything like that, especially if there's any sort of debris or anything like that are on your tubes when you're putting it in there. The RGB connector, that's kind of cool, but again, it's got this 3-push button thing, which is cool. You can cycle it, you can cycle the speed, make it go all crazy, cycle the colors and all that type of stuff. So that's kind of cool in itself. These LED, you know, rings that go around the reservoir, they light up the reservoir pretty good. I mean, as you can see, this one's mounted up top, shining down in, and it kind of illuminates from the bottom down. Now, obviously, if this was in like a darker situation, you could see, but you know, it works for what its purpose is. You know, this one's mounted at the bottom with the blue fitting. That'd look nice inside of your system. So all in all, these AlphaCool products that they came up with are pretty good. You know, pretty good solutions to some of your lighting needs, especially these light bars. I can't say enough about these things. These things are pretty cool because they do come with magnetic feet that just screw into the back, and so you can kind of slap them anywhere. And just because it's a 3-pin all it is a 3-pin connection, so it's just 12 volt, plus or minus, so you can kind of pretty much put them wherever you'd like, or anywhere that has some sort of metal that you can mount it to, or you can use the 3M tape that comes with it as well. But all in all, pretty decent stuff, not too bad. All right, so what I did is we had some UV green. This is the, what is this, Joe? What do we got? Right, Mayhem's XT1 Nuke. This is the bright green fluid that we used in the Razor build. But more importantly, what I did is I took it and I put it inside of this small little hard tube here, as you can see, and this is supposed to be UV reactive. And the whole purpose of this is just to show you one of the Alpha Cool UV fittings and see what it actually looks like when you plug it in. Now, at first looks, it looks pretty decent. It does light up the tube, it does light up the fluid, it does give it a UV glow there. But if you put it a little bit farther down towards the bottom of the tube, it seems to do it a little bit better. It does seem to look a little bit nicer too, at least for the cast of the light going up and down the tube here. So that's kind of your best UV property. But even still, it kind of, I mean, yeah, it lights it up, but it's not exactly the UV cast that you would get like if you're using one of the big, you know, Phobia LED strips or anything like that, or one of the dark side LED, you know, 7 or the 12-inch or whatever. That will give you a heck of a lot more, a bigger cast. But I mean, this isn't bad. I mean, if you don't want to put those LED strips inside of your computer and you want to use something similar to this, then not a bad little setup. Pretty cool. So the LED ring that goes around the reservoir, the UV one, is actually pretty neat. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, you can put it up or down on the bottom of the reds. It does make it glow and does give the UV cast, which is pretty cool. And you know, if you pair it up with the inline, the UV LED ring fittings and stuff like that for the tubing, it doesn't look terrible. But what we're going to take a look at next is the strips that are sold by Phobia. Phobia makes these flexible ones. They come in all sorts of different sizes. This one's massive. The one that I have here, I think is only, yeah, this is 30 centimeters. 300 millimeters if you want to get specific. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of mount these wherever. It does have 3M double-sided whatever on the bottom, but that doesn't usually stick very well. So you can use 3M tape or Velcro or whatever, you know, or super glue. That's usually what I use. But these, again, they can be bent. They can be bent around and all sorts of things, and that will give you different casts of light of UV. Or again, you know, these come in an array of colors. This particular one is the massive blue one that, you know, again, casts a good amount of light as well. And they're relatively easy to work with, especially when you need long lengths, something like this. There's no better choice than the Phobia stuff, just for the simple fact that it's huge and it actually works. And again, it's a 3-pin. It comes with just a regular 3-pin connector, and then it also comes with a pass-through, a Molex pass-through that it will connect to it as well. But those are two different options. And then you also have the dark side LEDs, which I'm going to show you next. So on top of the Phobia flexible LED strips, you also have these rigid LED strips that are made by Darkside. They come in two different sizes, a 12-inch and a 7 3/4. The other thing that they also have are single LEDs. This is a 3 mil, obviously, so it doesn't exactly fit correctly. But inside of there, that's where you would put it. You'd put your LED inside of there, and then you would obviously light up the fitting that's in there. This particular one is a red LED, which just kind of glows the top part red, which is kind of difficult to see. But we also sell the Alpha Cool, the little LED plug, which actually looks pretty decent when you do light that up. Now obviously with a single LED you're not going to get a whole heck of a lot of light cast on it, but I mean, if you just want to throw a little accent, maybe a little red accent or whatever color you'd like in there, you definitely can. Now in comparison to the UV bendable strips, the UV bendable strips I like because you can put them kind of anywhere. These flat ones, they give a good cast of light, as you can see around the edges here, especially, you know, it's a nice even cast, especially if you were to put it with the tube, like in line with the tube. And they throw quite a bit of UV all over. Same with the bendable ones. The bendable ones also work very well. But the 3M tape that these come with isn't the greatest. You might as well pretty much just use super glue if you're going to put it in there permanently. but they're relatively cheap. They're not incredibly expensive, and they work pretty well for what they actually are. What's the best lighting and why? Well, basically it comes down to what is it getting used for. LED strips, the flat ones or the flexible ones that Phobia sells, those are good in certain applications. If you have the space to actually light up the entire tube or light up the entire res, that's a good idea. They come with 3M tape. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes you have to use super glue or some other tape, and other times you won't. It actually might work. And because they come in 2 different sizes, that's pretty neat as well. These LED rings that go around the reservoir, those are also pretty sweet if you're trying to light up, the inside of the res or get it a certain color or whatever it may be. And in another application, you might want these LED tube rings. They light up certain parts of the tube here and can actually get a cool effect if you don't have room or you don't want to put these LED strips in there at all. And then last but not least, these Alpha Cool LED bars are actually pretty sweet. They don't heat up, and they also come with the magnet mounts, which I think is pretty sweet. And they're aluminum. They're pretty sturdy. They're not going to break anytime soon, which is pretty neat. So for a reasonable price, you can get LED bars, LED strips, these LED tube fittings. We have them all at ModMyMods, and we do have them in stock. So if you do need lighting accessories, we probably can help you out. So if you liked this video and want more from me and Joe, Richard, and everybody here at ModMyMods, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and tweet us, and stay tuned here at ModMyMods.